You ever wake up in the morning and say, I love democracy. Democracy is wonderful. Voter participation is excellent. If there was just a way we could eliminate voter participation, democracy would be perfect. Without all those votes and what the people want cluttering up what the elites know is best for them. Well, if you've had that thought and acted on it, well, you're probably involved with the grand old party in Colorado, where they've just found a way to give Ted Cruz a whole bunch of delegates without anyone actually voting. And even the minimal amount of voting for the delegates that did occur was, well, let's just say, a little bit corrupt. It's almost an insult to third world politics to say this is third world style banana republic electioneering. So let's get started on the Colorado delegate controversy. The Denver Post wrote on August 25th, 2015, quote, Colorado will not vote for a Republican candidate for president at its 2016 caucus. The GOP Executive Committee has voted to cancel the traditional presidential preference poll after the National Party changed its rules to require a state's delegates to support the candidate who wins the caucus vote. Now, why August? Well, I don't know for sure, but if I had to guess, I would say that June 16th, 2015, Trump announced his candidacy. Now, Trump had actually paid an aide of his for years to listen to talk radio, to look into social media, to figure out what really mattered to your average Republican voter or to people leaning that way. And he found that there were a bunch of issues that repeatedly came up. Number one was Republicans for decades have been begging the GOP to deal with the problem of illegal immigration. They also strongly against Obamacare and keep Lucy style with the football in Charlie Brown. The GOP promises to deal with Obamacare and promised to end up funding it every single time. They also didn't like Common Core, a bunch of other things. So when Donald Trump announced, he was actually really listening to the Republican voters. He had examined what they wanted and put his campaign front and center. It was not off the whim, like all good business people. He did his due diligence. And so people who hate Trump, especially those in the Republican side, they hate large constituencies of Americans who really want certain issues to be dealt with. Now, of course, because Trump is not taking donor money, he's able to actually listen to the American public rather than, as the other politicians do, carve up the American public and serve them to donors and foreign banksters with some fava beans and a nice light Chianti. So, the fact that by August, Donald Trump had risen to the top of the polls and was the front runner as a Republican nominee, well, then they decided, I think that's about enough voting. We're just going to decide for the people in Colorado. An exclusive group of 24 party members decided the action by unanimous decision. So, it's nice that their votes counted so that nobody else's could. Former Colorado GOP Chairman Ryan Cole said, quote, it takes Colorado completely off the map in the primary season, which is one reason why Donald Trump didn't spend a lot of time there. The Denver Post wrote, August 25th, 2015, quote, the old Colorado system often favors anti-establishment candidates who draw a dedicated following among activists, as evidenced by Rick Santorum's victory in 2012 caucus. So the party's move may hurt GOP contenders such as Donald Trump, Ben Carson, and Rand Paul, who would have received a boost if they won the state. And what the GOP is basically saying in Colorado is, well, we love the people of Colorado. We just don't trust them to make the decision that we want them to make when it comes to voting for a Republican candidate. They went for Ron Paul. They went for Rick Santorum. Santorum got 40% of the vote. Romney only got 35%. Romney got 13 delegates. Santorum got 6. So, as Bismarck said, there's two things you don't want to see getting made. Number one, sausages. Number two, laws. And so that seems to be the opinion. Can't trust the people with what the people might want. State Republican Party Chairman Steve House said, if we do a binding presidential preference poll, we would then pledge our delegates, and the candidates we bind them to may not be in the race by the time we get to the convention. Right. Steve, that's how democracy works. It's kind of like when you go to the races and you put your money on a horse. Sometimes the horse falls down. The solution to that is not to rig the entire game. Arapahoe County GOP chairwoman Joy Hoffman said, "If there's the potential for a brokered convention in any way, the unaffiliated delegates become extremely important. If there is someone who becomes a frontrunner, then nobody's important. So I think the view became that if we were not bound, it's not the worst thing that could happen, right? So if Trump doesn't get enough votes, it becomes a brokered convention, which is basically horse trading and smoky room, backroom deals. And the delegates become extremely important. They're less relevant, of course, if he reaches the number that he needs for an unbrokered convention to clinch the nomination." The Denver Post, April 10th, 2016, quote, "The Cruz campaign ran the table in Colorado, capturing all 34 delegates at a series of 7 congressional district meetings this month, and the state party convention Saturday in Colorado Springs." Cortez Jonah wrote, "Cruz declared victory in Colorado, pointing out that he won all 21 delegates from the state's 7 congressional assemblies. Another 13 delegates were awarded at the state convention on Saturday. An additional 3 delegates in Colorado's 37-member national delegation are unpledged party leaders." Bloomberg, "More than 600 people ran for the 13 slots awarded Saturday at the state convention in Colorado Springs." Now, just so you know, to get these delegates, there's almost no rules about what can and can't be offered. Like, you can't offer an officer $20 to get out of a speeding ticket, which seems like a fine idea to me. But you can openly buy people votes. You can offer them trips. You can just do whatever you want. It is a very, very horseflesh kind of trading, you could argue somewhat corrupt process. So there were 600 people trying to become unbound delegates. And Donald Trump said, "How is it possible that the people of the great state of Colorado never got to vote in the Republican primary? Great anger, totally unfair. The people of Colorado had their vote taken away from them by the phony politicians. Biggest story in politics, this will not be allowed. I've gotten millions of more votes than Senator Ted Cruz. And I've gotten hundreds of delegates more, and we keep fighting. And then you have a Colorado where they just get all of these delegates. And it's not even a system. There was no voting. I didn't go out there to make a speech or anything. There's no voting. They offer them trips. They offer them all sorts of things. And you're allowed to do that. I mean, you're allowed to offer trips. And you can buy all these votes. What kind of a system is this? Now, I'm an outsider, and I came into the system, and I'm winning the votes by millions of votes. But the system is rigged. It's crooked. And, of course, Trump has, for months, said he just wishes a fair fight, a fair treatment. Cruz Colorado Grassroots Director Regina Thompson said, quote, "The process is what the process is. Seeking out supporters, getting people to attend caucuses, texts, emails, one-on-ones. See, but not a lot of voting." Political science professor Gene Zano said, "His team has been masterful in being able to use their influence and power to pull the delegates in." He's really, really great, Ted Cruz's team, and him really great at being able to bypass voters. Don't you just want that in your Republican leader? Colorado GOP Chairman Steve Indahouse, quote, "Cruz and Kasich have been incredibly visible, especially in the last 10 days. The Trump campaign, not nearly as much." The Denver Post wrote again, "Ahead of the state convention, a Trump campaign strategist said it made the strategic decision not to compete in Colorado because the caucus system favored party insiders. Trump skipped the state party convention where Cruz gave a rousing speech that galvanized his supporters." Actually, it's kind of true. When I play cards with 4-year-olds, I basically have to keep telling them, if you're going to cheat, I'm not going to play. Trump advisor Alan Cobb said, "If we get a delegate number higher than 0, it will be a success. It's just not a good state for us. We're trying to make an effort commensurate with what we expect to get out of here." Again, I'm no political strategist, but I can understand why you wouldn't want to put a big effort into a rigged game, because then you get mocked for trying and failing, whereas this way you can say, well, it's rigged, we didn't participate much. Ted Cruz said, "He was scared. They knew he wasn't going to do well. Donald doesn't handle losing well." Such a troll. Cruz campaign statement, quote, "Today was another resounding victory for conservatives, Republicans, and Americans who care about the future of our country. Utah, North Dakota, Wisconsin, and tonight's incredible results in Colorado have proven this. Republicans are uniting behind our campaign because they want a leader with real solutions who will bring back jobs, freedom, and security." Okay, I don't know that they're actually uniting behind you if you've bypassed the voting process. That's like saying the woman currently bound and gagged in the trunk of my car is really enjoying our spontaneous road trip. That's just a joke. Don't call anyone. Trump convention manager Paul Manafort said, "I acknowledged that we weren't playing in Colorado, and they did. You go to these county conventions and you see the Gestapo tactics, the scorched earth tactics. We're going to be filing several protests because the reality is they're not playing by the rules. If they don't get what they want, they blow it up. That's not going to work." The Colorado Republicans for Liberty distributed a, quote, "resolution to forbid Colorado delegates from voting for Donald Trump" flyer, which resolved that, 1, the Colorado Republican Party forbids any of its delegates to the Republican National Convention to vote for Donald Trump for president or vice president on the first ballot or any other ballot. And 2, the Colorado Republican Party asks its delegates to National Convention to pledge on their honor to do everything in their power to help secure the presidential nomination for someone other than Donald Trump. Now see, this is why I said at the beginning that Donald Trump spent years paying someone to learn and get reports on what Republican and Republican-leaning voters really want. So when you see the Republican Party trying to shaft and screw and reject and shut out Donald Trump and bypass all of his popular support, they're saying that pretty much that they hate the significant proportion of their own constituents. According to Fox News Denver, quote, "There was no bubble on the ballot for delegate candidate number 379, who was running as a Trump delegate according to the state party list. Instead, in the spot where number 379 should have appeared, there was a second bubble for number 378, who was running as an unpledged delegate. You have two choices. There's door number 1 and door number 2. Asterisk, footnote, tiny print. Door number 2 leads directly to door number 1. Please choose as you see fit." Fox News Denver, quote, "Inside the convention program printed by the state party, the list of candidates running for the 13 national delegate slots and their corresponding ballot numbers only went up to number 588, even though there were 619 candidates." Well, I don't know. Maybe they were ghosts. Who knows? But, if the number is less than 619, I don't think that's just a tiny little mistake. Stalin said, "It doesn't matter who votes. The only thing that matters is who counts the votes." And there you go. Prospective Colorado Trump delegate Larry Lindsey, quote, "I guess my precinct captain made good on her threats. My name is no longer on the roster as a delegate. I have been removed and replaced. My vote nullified because I voted for Trump." And this is the guy, he had a picture of himself, a video of himself, burning his Republican registration and party card, even though he'd been a Republican for decades. Trump advisor Alan Cobb said, "We're not taking a credential challenge off the table. It's something we'll be looking into over the next few months as a challenge to the whole damn process." Cruz campaign spokeswoman Catherine Frazier said, "It's no surprise that Trump's team will lash out with falsehoods when facing a loss to distract from their failure, as they have the entire time." Yeah, I don't know. I hate to editorialize too much, but I gotta tell you, I think that not being bad at this kind of anti-democratic backroom bribery / free trips, free car, Oprah style wheeling and dealing, I think being bad at this kind of stuff is not much of an insult. You're really bad at being corrupt. Very sad. Republican strategist Ron Bongine said, "While Trump is leading in several upcoming states like New York and Pennsylvania, Cruz is pulling out all the stops and strategies to capture delegates in order to get to a contested convention. Every delegate that is picked off in places like Colorado is a win for Cruz and makes it harder for Trump to be the nominee. And this is referring, of course, to the fact that Republican candidates need 1,237 delegates to clinch the nomination and avoid this contested convention where there's going to be all this horse trading and backroom deals and so on. Trump right now has 743 delegates. Cruz has 545, followed by Kasich at 143. So, the Colorado GOP has a Twitter account, and 8:07 p.m. on the 9th of April 2016, they tweeted, "We did it! Hashtag never Trump." Yay! They won against democracy. And then, just about 2 hours later, they said, the last tweet was the result of unauthorized access to our account and in no way represents the opinion of the party. We are investigating. I guess they can start hiring away some of the private investigators currently being deployed by O.J. Simpson from his cell to find out just who killed Ron Goldman and Nicole Simpson. We'll see. Stay tuned. I'm sure they'll be right on it and everything will be revealed. So, there's an old saying attributed to Albert Einstein which says, if you keep doing the same things and expect different results, you're insane. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. Cruz is a career politician. Donald Trump is funding his own campaign, which means that he's relatively immune to special interest and lobbying pressure groups. If you are involved in business in America, you buy politicians. You know it, I know it, everybody knows it. There's no better investment for most businesses than the purchase or rental of a congressman or a congresswoman. It's better than R&D, it's better than opening new facilities, and it's much more guaranteed. And so they all profit, and the general population dies slowly and now relatively fast. It's like death by 1,001 mosquito bites. You can swat each individual mosquito perhaps, but they're going to get you in the end because you're just so vastly outnumbered. Now, Trump is bypassing that whole process. He's speaking directly to the people because he doesn't need the money of lobbyists, so he doesn't have to make promises in return for contributions. It's unprecedented, it's shocking, it's startling, and he's not anointed as the successor in the same way that Bernie Sanders is not anointed as the successor. The kingmakers are not getting their way, although they're trying, right? They're trying to shut out Bernie Sanders, they're trying to shut out Donald Trump. And everybody knows that the course that America is on will result in the end of the republic as it has historically been constituted and known. Everybody knows that. Vast majority of Americans say America is heading in the wrong direction. America needs to try something new. If you don't want to be crazy, do something different than what you have already and always done. That is one of the reasons why there's such hysteria in both the Republican and the Democratic side. The Democratic side is going to come down the road. If Donald Trump gets the nomination and goes up against Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders, then the Democrats will go insane. But the Democrats right now are standing back and watching the Republicans commit democracide against their own voters, because the voters are the excuse to pillage the body politic. Well, you voted, you participated in the process, so you can't really complain about what happened. That's, of course, all complete nonsense. And then you'll see what happens when the voting public actually chooses someone that the party elite doesn't want, as in Donald Trump. You will see all of the dirty tricks pulled out that you can conceivably imagine. So if you want a different outcome than that which is inevitable, if you want to have the truck not drive off the cliff, you have to turn the wheel. Otherwise, it will be the end of the republic and one of the bravest and most noble experiments in limited government in human history will end in a flame of late Roman, squalid, third world, banana republic corruption.